Hey guys, it's Mitch. How's it going? We're back to wrap up Walt Simonson's Fantastic Four storyline here. We kind of got wrapped up in all the extreme this and that we've been dealing with for like the past month. And there's a couple of series that we kind of just left off the last chapter of. So we're going to catch up on some of those in the next couple of weeks. So today we're going to finish up this time travel spectacular in Fantastic Four number 341. So just before we get into it, if you enjoy the channel, and if you feel like you might want to help out a little bit, go over and subscribe on my Patreon. Gives you early access to everything I do, helps to buy new comics, and it helps to support the channel. So yeah, we've been all over time in this storyline. We've dealt with Cross-Time Kangs, we dealt with the Shi'ar Empire, and we dealt with the Black Celestial in the last issue. And all of this was kind of a sideshow because the main event was dealing with a gigantic Galactus who was swallowing up the universe. And now we have to take care of that. And I have to say, I mean, this is, I guess, a little bit of spoilers. The story kind of falls apart in this one a little bit for me. The art is as good as ever, but it doesn't feel like this is a very satisfactory ending to this particular little storyline. So we should start with the cover here first. So if we recall, issue 339 was the big one with Thor versus Gladiator. Issue 340 was the bigger one with Fantastic Four versus the Black Celestial. This is the biggest one. This is the Fantastic Four, Thor and Iron Man versus Galactus. Pretty good cover, very dynamic with the extreme Dutch angle. We got our big shot of Galactus in the background here. Lots of great color on this cover. Walt's never quite been able to match up to the cover for Chapter 1 of this story, which was this one here. And I mean, that's just a classic. It's a little bit similar, I mean, in terms of content anyway. Just kind of a better angle, I guess. But no, this is still very good. All right, so this is Chapter 5, The Ultimate Solution. As usual, we're going to kick things off with a big splash page. And as usual, Ben is going to fill us in on what's been going on in the last few issues. He says, now there's a fine how do you do. We're stuck inside a time bubble surrounding Galactus, who's busy wolfing down all the time and space. The Black Celestial creep who started this whole thing bit the dust. We waste enough explosives to wipe out half the galaxy. We lose Johnny and Sue, and Galactus is still nuts and still eating everything in sight. It makes a man think seriously about getting out of the superhero business. So that's a lot of information all in one go, but it's enough to kind of clue you in about what the stakes are. And I mean, if you want to find out in more detail what's been going on, you just go pick up those issues, right? Decent splash page. We got our focus here, which is Reed, and Reed has kind of been the star of this little storyline. We got Sherry, Ben, we got Thor, and we got Sad Iron Man. Again, pretty good. Not the best, but pretty good. And Reed has come up with sort of a last-ditch idea that they can use to try and destroy Galactus, because that's what it's going to have to come down to here. Galactus's metabolism has been tampered with to the extent that he's ravenous, and he can't stop absorbing energy. That's why he set up this gizmo to basically absorb the entire universe. And he's beyond rational thought, or at least he has been for the most part. There was a second where they were able to distract him from his hunger for a moment, and his eyes seemed to clear, and that reminded Reed of the first time that they met Galactus, and how they got rid of him that time. And what they did was the Watcher told them about the existence of a device called the Ultimate Nullifier. I feel like we should all know what the Ultimate Nullifier is, but in case you don't, it's basically a device that has the ability to destroy anything, up to and possibly including the universe. Which seems like you're risking playing for a tie here, if that's the gambit going forward, to go and find the Ultimate Nullifier and risk destroying the universe to stop Galactus from destroying the universe. Iron Man brings this up and says, you know what, we might actually be kind of arriving at the same result no matter which course of action we take. And Reed replies by saying, if we leave it as it is, this universe is dead anyway. At least this way, it's maybe not dead. So that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to go off and search for the Ultimate Nullifier. And just before they leave for that, they get a transmission from Sue. And of course, we thought that Sue and Johnny had been destroyed when the Black Celestial's headquarters was exploded in the last issue. So hearing Sue's voice, Reed gets Thor to teleport them back to the crater that used to be the Black Celestial's headquarters. And this page is, like fairly functional. Gets a little bit of nice shadowing on Reed here at least. This one's a fair bit better. I love this shot here with all the zooming going on. This shot here is pretty good. And I love this shit. This is very simple for a big crater in the middle of nowhere, but it's accurate, it feels like. Big swath of black here, big stripe of black here, little bit of line work showing, a little bit more shadow, but very quickly done by the looks of it. And yet, that's a very effective crater. That's just excellent stuff. So they are able to home in on the signal that Sue sent out. Sue and Reed get their happy reunion, but they quickly have to turn their attention to Johnny, who's kind of comatose and is being contained in one of Sue's invisibility bubbles. She describes how when they were in the headquarters, before it got exploded, Johnny lured her away from the rest of the group and then attacked her. She was able to fend him off with a force field, and then he collapsed right when the ceiling started caving in on them. Kind of a nice effect. Again, very simplistic. And a lot of negative space going on there, but it's nice. And Reed wonders what the hell even happened to Johnny. And at that moment, Johnny starts muttering about a blue woman. And Reed maybe recognizes that a little bit because he had a little bit of experience with a blue woman recently. But before he can think about it more, Sue pulls him away. And, they've got to get going. They've got Galactus to go and nullify. So they all load back up onto the time sled. And Thor uses his Deus Ex Machina machine, or his hammer, in other words, to teleport them to Galactus's house. And when Walt's drawing Galactus's house, it's all Kirby all the time. And this apparently isn't a matter of forced perspective. They say here how the ship dwarfs some of the nearby planets. Yeah, you can see one, hovering in front of the ship here. That's great stuff. And you get kind of classic Kirby-esque Starfield in the background here with all this energy stuff breaking up the stars and all the way too close together planets. That's great stuff. I wonder who's got this page now. I hope it's Walt, because that page is fantastic, which I suppose is appropriate. So they're going to enter Galactus's ship here. Reed thinks back to the last time they went searching for the Ultimate Nullifier, when the Watchers sent Johnny across the galaxy searching for it. And when he came back, his brain was broken just by the sheer scope of the distance he had to travel. I haven't read the actual issues, but I've seen that scene, and that always kind of stuck with me. I thought that was a great little sequence. So yeah, they fly inside the ship, and some sort of alarm goes off as an energy web starts to try and pull them into this opening in the wall. Great shot here with them zooming in. All this crazy perspective going on, and these energy fields with the voom, voom, voom. And Iron Man breaks up the field by tossing a live cable with a desynchronizing pulse. And yeah, that breaks up the field and they're able to proceed, which was kind of my first twinge that wait a sec, that didn't feel as cool as it should have felt. Reed here does hypothesize that probably wasn't even a defense system at all. It was probably more of a house cleaning system. So Ben goes, wait, what? You mean we almost got hoovered? And that's okay. That's kind of funny and everything. But just the fact that the desynchronization pulse, it's okay, that doesn't match up with anything in my head. That feels like just throwing out technobabble. It all looks very nice, at least. So anyway, they touch down inside Galactus's ship, and they're able to progress without really running into any more problems. Which, again, doesn't feel right. The only problem is that this is page 11 in chapter 5 of 5. We don't have a whole lot of time to wrap this up. So it feels like all the breakneck pace, tossing out plot elements, has started to catch up a little bit to Walt, where he doesn't have a way to tie everything together satisfactorily. These are just little nuggets, but they're going to start to pile up here. So they wander in, and they wander into this giant armory, or at least Thor says it's an armory. It doesn't really look much like an armory, but we can take his word for it. That's okay. Again, the fact that they find it immediately feels like a bit of a problem. Again, cool looking shot. Doesn't look like much of anything, no. It looks like a gigantic room full of tech, which is fine. But without that line of dialogue, you don't know what's going on, and that in itself is a problem. So they're looking around a little bit, and just a little bit, and they're saying, okay, how are we even going to know where to look for it? This place is massive. And Reed goes, well, the Ultimate Nullifier isn't just any weapon. He wouldn't have it stored with the other weapons. It would probably be set apart. And at that, Ben goes, yeah, well, we're going to have a little bit more difficulty looking because this light switch doesn't work. And Reed goes, wait a minute, that's no light switch. That's the Ultimate Nullifier. It's like tucked in with some existing text so that it's hidden from immediate view. But I mean, that's it right there. Like, I was thinking, I was reading this and like, okay, is that like a fake or something? Like, no, that's the Ultimate Nullifier. He had it like on the shelf and he put some knickknacks in front of it and went, maybe no one will notice. So Reed has Iron Man take a quick look at it. But then the Ultimate Nullifier goes flying out of their hands in an invisibility force bubble. So naturally it goes flying into the hands of Sue. Only it's not Sue, really. Like, it's Sue's body, but it's actually the Blue Woman who took over Johnny previously. And we find out this is, in fact, Nebula. I think I wondered at the beginning of all this, like, the only blue person I know about that deals with, like, the Avengers and Fantastic Four and shit is Nebula, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's who this was. But it is. And apparently Nebula was looking... Well, no, she wasn't looking for the Ultimate Nullifier. She says, I knew when the bomb my agent hid within your headquarters didn't kill you, that the Fantastic Four and not the Avengers were destined to penetrate the time bubble. So, okay, she's responsible for the bomb in the beginning of this storyline. So that's that wrapped up. When I misjudged my timing and failed to catch your time slide as it entered the bubble, I thought all was lost, but the story has a happy ending. It may not be what I thought to find, but it's just what I was looking for. So she was not after the Ultimate Nullifier all this time. Although, like, you know, she'll take it. She explains how the story she told Reed was mostly true, except for her fending off Johnny. That didn't actually happen. Johnny incapacitated her. Nebula jumped from Johnny's body to Sue's right after shutting down Johnny's mind. And then she protected them from the blast. She said, I had hoped to survive long enough to escape this cursed time bubble and move to another timeline, but the Ultimate Nullifier will change all that. So she was trapped in the time bubble and just looking for a means of escape. Now, not only will I escape, but I will become the most powerful entity in the Omniverse. And she says, power was my goal when I secretly joined the Council of Cross-Time Kangs and stole their secrets. So maybe that's wrapping something up. Power was my goal when I gained control of the Avengers. With my ass. I guess Walt's not above the odd cheesecake shot here and there. I don't know if this is wrapping anything up either, though. I sought the secret of the time bubble, thinking it would help me in my quest, but I was unable to penetrate it. So her quest was just power. And in the end, my slave, Dr. Druid, and I were swept into its perimeter to become mere phantoms of our former selves. And this is wrapping up Avengers 296 and 297. So if you read those issues, maybe that provides you with a bit of closure, but it still doesn't say why she's in this story. So she used Dr. Druid's psychic powers to possess Johnny and then Sue. And now she has the Ultimate Nullifier, which gives her the power that she wanted. I mean, kinda. She can destroy, like, anything and everything. And Reed's like, give me the nullifier. And she's like, no. And she fucking turns it on. Because she's a fucking lunatic. Only turning it on expels her from Sue's body. Kind of a very quickly dashed off shot there, feels like a little bit. Reed catches Sue and explains to everybody, because it's time for the exposition. So, when he was examining Johnny and Johnny said the thing about the Blue Woman, it made him a little bit suspicious because he'd had the dreams about Nebula as well. So he whispered to Iron Man to secretly attach one of his capacitors to the Ultimate Nullifier, and when Nebula tried to use the device, she received a shock and lost her hold on Sue. And again, that's like one leap too many. He hears Johnny say Blue Woman in his sleep, so he goes, I better get Iron Man to attach one of his capacitors to the Ultimate Nullifier when we find it. But again, it's page 16. We gotta hurry this fucking thing along. So, I mean, at least the Nebula problem is solved, and it does feel a little bit like she didn't really have to be here at all. Like she didn't really factor into the story one way or the other, except to slow them down a little bit at the end. That's really all it kind of came down to. But now they have the problem that the ultimate nullifier has been activated. So it's generated this nullification field. It doesn't seem to be growing, but they can't pull the nullifier out of it without, I mean, if you were to reach into it, you'd I guess, atomize, something like that. So Sue pulls it out with essentially telekinesis, her force bubble thing. And now they've got the ultimate nullifier, and they can go and find Galactus. So this feels a little bit pointless, but it did show us what the ultimate nullifier's effect was going to be, and show us the problem that you can't hold the ultimate nullifier and turn it on without it destroying you. So considering that it's just these two panels, that's okay in this case. So we go directly back to Galactus's Dyson sphere, because we don't have any time to travel anywhere anymore. We got 5 pages left. And we got a great shot of Galactus still, using this device here. So that's cool, at least. They do, kind of realize now that they have that problem where we can't use the fucking thing, because whoever's using it is going to get destroyed. And Reed says, then we'll have to be certain that whoever uses it is prepared to make that sacrifice. And they kind of all go, I think every one of us would do that, because that's the kind of heroes we're dealing with here. Which Reed appreciates, but that is not his plan in this case. What they're going to do is they're going to try and get Galactus' attention again. Because this whole ordeal is basically torture for Galactus. He's spent pretty much his entire existence trying to keep his hunger in check. And now here at the end, it's gone completely out of control and pretty much driven him insane. And he has these flashes of lucidity. And when he gets those, the impression that Reed got, at least the one time that he did kind of wake up, is that Galactus would basically do anything to end this at this point. So they're going to do a combined blast of Iron Man, like basically emptying the reserves on his repulsors. Thor throws Mjolnir. Johnny musters up as much Nova Flame as he can in his weakened state. And they all converge and hit Galactus right in the mouth. It doesn't hurt him, but it does snap him out of his stupor again. And there's no time to explain to Galactus what the plan is, but he seems to know instinctively. So they go zooming past, and they just kind of huck him the ultimate nullifier as they go, which he catches and activates himself. Very Kirby-looking Galactus right there. And this is a pretty cool shot. We get our upraised Galactus fist as he activates the ultimate nullifier, and the nullification field expands. And again, I'm not usually a fan of the 4-panel grid. This isn't so bad, though. Like with these kind of stationary shots, these almost feel like, mini splash pages a little bit. And everything starts getting sucked in to the nullification field. So in the center of the black hole, we've created a white hole. And with everything zooming in, it looks like the fucking end of Akira. That's pretty great. Oh, photocopied sled. And Reed yells, Kurtzberg generators to emergency power. Existentialators at 110%. And without a sound, the universe behind them softly and suddenly vanishes away. And that's a bold choice, as existence basically nullifies behind them. I don't think I mind it. I mean, it's eye-catching, and you get what's going on. Again, though, this feels like kind of the problem in that the universe is being destroyed, right? That they haven't mentioned yet, but I'm not for sure. Ben says we ain't gonna make it. The big nothing's catching up to us. Reed says perimeter insertion countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And they re-enter the time stream. Nebula is still stuck in it, but they're not able to snag her on their way out. They she's stuck, and the universe is nullifying behind them. They got to move. And they're hitting maximum speed. They hit the edge of the bubble, and they re-enter normal space-time, at which point they initiate the chronostream acquisition sequence, and the turbulence is shaking the sled apart. Iron Man and Thor get pulled off the time sled and disappear into the time stream. But the Fantastic Four can't focus on that. They're just trying to keep the time sled together and try and land it safely, and then they'll sort out what happened to everything else afterwards. So at this point, they're coming into Four Freedoms Plaza, but the sled's losing power and our position's drifting. And they materialize inside one of the walls, which explodes, and just kind of throws them every which way. Gigantic pile of rubble going everywhere. And that's it. They're home. They survived. This particular room is destroyed, but they got home safely. Pretty cool shots with all the tumbling around and everything. That's all right. And Reed's first priority is to locate Thor and Iron Man. As far as he knows, they're still trapped in time. But being trapped in time isn't a normal kind of problem, because that's the kind of thing, I mean, if you're trapped in the time stream, you can enter the time stream at any point and go exactly to where, if you locate where they are, you can go exactly to that without worrying about any kind of delays, right? And Ben turns on the TV to find some current events to see that everything's all right. And the reporter states here, the Avengers arrived at the White House this afternoon for a private meeting with the president. Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America met with reporters afterwards to say, and Ben points out, hey, look, Iron Man and Thor are already here. They must have gotten here before us. Like, the time stream operated a little bit differently. They happened to maybe touch down a couple of days before. That's potentially possible. But it does kind of wrap things up so they don't have to worry about this being a crisis for the moment. They're like, okay, that adventure's done. Let's go and get some fucking sleep. And we'll start sorting everything out when we wake up. Only once they go to bed, the TV continues. This just in, President Quayle has ordered all United States armed forces to full alert. He said that unless the Russian premier, Joseph Stalin, orders his mobile missile units pulled back from the borders of Greater Germany, the most dire consequences could result. And now this from your favorite soft drink. So they've returned back to the right time, but this isn't quite the right dimension. Like, pretty close, but something got screwed up. And they're in sort of a bit of an alternate timeline. And that's setting things up for the next 4-issue mini storyline. But that's going to do it for Fantastic Four 341. So, yeah, I gotta say, after the lead-up of the last 4 issues, this one's a bit of a disappointment. The art's all pretty good. It doesn't have those huge eye-catching pages and images that we've seen leading up to this, is the only problem. Apart from the bit where Galactus starts the Ultimate Nullifier, and I guess the big white 2-page spread. That's pretty eye-catching. But I don't know, I'd have liked it to be even more epic, and it didn't quite get there. And the story resolution itself is a problem for me, because Walt never described what the limit of that nullification field was. So to the best of our knowledge, the universe did get destroyed, because there was no indication it was slowing down. If anything, it felt like it was speeding up. So if that's the case, what was the purpose of those 5 issues? I mean, I guess we have to assume that they stopped Galactus, but that seems like a pretty weak way to wrap things up. And yeah, all the Deus Ex Machinas, all the coincidences, the thing with Nebula really not affecting the story one way or the other. That part kind of bugged me. Well, I guess she was the catalyst for them getting involved in this whole thing. But if that's the case, it feels like there should have been more following of breadcrumbs to kind of lead to that. Or, more focus on who set the bomb. Because once they determined that the time bubble was in place, nobody gave a shit who set the bomb anymore. That was kind of tertiary. So in this one, we find out who set the bomb, and we go, oh, cool. Okay. Does that do anything about this problem with Galactus? No? Can she help us to defeat Galactus? Well, no, she's back to being a fucking space ghost. And then at the end of it, they all just kind of go, job done, guys. Let's go get some rest. Yeah, I feel like that could have wrapped up a lot better. Now, that being said, I haven't read the next 4-issue storyline, so I don't know if anything comes back in that. I would hope it does, at least a little bit, to kind of make it more impactful in some way. Yeah, that kind of thing. Like, at least the 4 issues leading up to this were pretty great. It's just, I don't know, it's a bit of a letdown that this one turned into a bit of a mess. But anyway, we'll keep going in the future. We're not done time traveling with Walt, not by a long shot. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications so you know when the next one's coming out. Go over and subscribe on my Patreon. That'll give you access to everything I do, from the Blood Force stuff to the YouTube videos before they get uploaded to YouTube, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. You can also follow me on Instagram and DM me there for commissions and you can go and join the Blood Force Discord server. But yeah, that's going to do it. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. All right, are the casuals gone? Okay, so it feels like a little bit of synchronicity that I got this today. So in case you're not familiar, this is the Walt Simonson Fantastic Four Artist Edition. This is the second Artist Edition that I've got. The first one, the Jim Lee Artist Edition, I did do like a total walkthrough of in a video a while back. So I'll touch on this one eventually at some point, but it's particularly nice because it does hit every issue that we've covered up until now. And like most of his run. Starting with that great fucking cover I talked about. And it's awesome seeing this at this size. And just seeing like the thickness of the lines, that kind of thing. Some of these get very thin. But they do look like they are done with brush, at least for the exteriors. So, shit's sake, eh? So yeah, maybe I'll do... It might be an idea to do like a live stream. Holy shit. Okay, I think this is a tone of some kind. I don't think that's ruled out. That would not make a ton of sense. Yeah, I might do like a live stream walkthrough or something on these. Just kind of wanted to get a glimpse of what was in here. All this wild shit. Holy Christ. Yeah, all the stuff with the time slot. It's crazy how big some of these shapes are. And some of them just look like slapped on. Like the stuff with the brush here. But it's like at this point, Walt's been going for like 15 years, I guess. So like he knows exactly what he wants to do, I feel like. Good Christ. That is some wild stuff. And this looks like he double photocopied it. Oh, that is interesting. That would take a little bit of finessing. I'm not even sure what he's doing here. If this is... It doesn't look like a photo. It looks like this is just ink. Oh, there's some glue in here. Maybe that is a photo. And this is a photocopy all the way through. That's sick. And hitting the edge of the time bubble. Ain't that fucking something? Yeah, so this is all of the issues we just covered. So 337 through 341. And I don't believe we do the next 4 issues. Yeah, there's that bit there. But it is those issues in their entirety, which is excellent. And then from there, you go on to the time fight. We all remember the time fight, right? And then that whole storyline with the TVA. And just before we go, I'll leave you with one absolutely gorgeous fucking spread. Just one of my favorite covers of all time. It's simple, but it's fantastic. And a comparable splash on the other side. You're not going to get any better than this shit, man. So yeah, we'll figure out something to do with those. I'm quite pleased with those. Oh, there's our gigantic shot of Galactus. All right, that's kind of sick for an end page. And we get our silhouetted Reed to end on. So yeah, probably a live stream walkthrough if you like. I can just put together a video or something. Doesn't really matter. I don't have any kind of landmarks coming up anytime soon. So it'll just have to be a regular one at some point if we decide to do that. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I get to look through that fucking thing. I mean, if you've been thinking about getting an artist edition, this does seem to be one of the less expensive ones. This, the Jim Lee one, the Todd McFarlane one. There's some that are kind of easy to find that you'd think would be at the top of the list. But yeah, I think I can safely recommend this one. So anyway, yep, that'll do it. We'll go through this sometime, and I'll see you guys again in whatever the next video is. Okay, have a good one.